occupied. We're all Palestinians now.
Rabbi Shmuley, I mean, when you listened to that interview with Daniela Weiss, what did you feel about it?
Piers, thank you for having me on. And having had a surprisingly civil debate at Oxford University with my brother Cenk, I'm actually going to excuse his hyperbole of calling Jews Nazis and stick to the facts, because you were right, Piers. In your discussion with Daniela,
stop
she should have
smearing Jews.
No, Cenk, please. Please don't. Okay, you're already interrupting me. Just be civil, please. We had a civil debate at Oxford. Let's try to continue. We shook hands afterward. Hundreds of thousands of people said how much they enjoyed watching us shake hands. Let's be human a little bit. I'm going to do what you said, Piers, and stick to the facts. Number one, Cenk just said that Israel killed so many more civilians that were killed on October 7th. 45,000 Britons died in the Battle of Britain when the Luftwaffe and Hermann Goering, bombed London, Northampton to smithereens. But Churchill killed 700,000 German children. He killed 3 million German civilians. That was terrible. But here's my question to you, Piers. Outside of Parliament is a giant statue of Churchill as the greatest statesman in the history of Britain. Was Churchill a war criminal, yes or no?
No, Churchill wasn't a war criminal. In fact, Matthew, I saw you shaking your head.
Okay. He wasn't. Okay. You said facts. You said facts.
Well, hang on. If you're going to make statements like Churchill,
45. Wait.
Your numbers aren't correct
you can
about
expand.
the number of civilians who died. Never mind anything else.
Yes, they are. There were 3 million German civilians killed by Britain and by the United States. There were 70,000 Japanese killed on a single day in Hiroshima and then Nagasaki. Half of them were children. 35,000. Was Harry Truman a war criminal? Was Roosevelt a war? If you are prepared to say, Piers, based on facts and based on what Cenk just said, that the proportion of civilians to combatant deaths determines whether you're a war criminal. And by the way, Churchill killed 5 civilians for every 1 German combatant. The United States in Fallujah killed 4 civilians in Fallujah in Iraq for every 1 terrorist Iraqi combatant. So was George W. Bush a war criminal? Was Tony Blair a criminal? If you're prepared to at least be consistent and say that, yes,
I think Bush and Blair were war criminals.
3 million. Was Churchill... Okay, do you think that Winston Churchill was a war criminal? It's a yes or no question.
No.
The same way you put it to
Churchill,
Daniela, yes or no?
Churchill,
So Churchill can kill 3 million
All right, you've
Germans,
asked a question.
Okay?
You've asked a question. Matthew.
I think it's a completely coherent and fair question. It's about means and ends. Is the means justified to achieve a given end? For what it's worth, I think that consequentialist approach is legitimate. I think that Truman was justified in the atomic bombs. I say that reluctantly. But I think there would have been many more deaths had the Second World War not been brought to an end in that way. I know some people will disagree with that position. However,
if I may just finish,
wait a second. You're one of the most
fair person that I've ever spoken to about on this show. All I'm saying is, let's be clear. Piers, God weeps for every Palestinian child, the 20,000 children. I don't know if it's 20,000, but even if it is, weeps for every one. One was too many. But every Arab child is the equal of a Jewish child. But whose responsibility is it? Who builds? I live in a community here in New York, New Jersey. There is no army base near me. Why are the Hamas headquarters in nurseries? Why does Hamas use these children to die so that you will then point the finger? Now, even Hitler did not do that. The German military headquarters were not built in kindergartens. And let me say one final thing, Piers, if I may. Piers, you know what struck me about your interview with Daniela Weiss? You did not once ask her, what do the people of Gaza want? I don't care what Piers Morgan wants. I don't care what Daniela Weiss wants. I don't care what Cenk wants. I don't care what Robert Shmuley wants.
To lead.
The people of Gaza have not, don't speak for them in the same way I won't. They have not had a vote since 2005 when Hamas took the leaders of the PLO, the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas, and threw their opponents off the roofs and killed them. Then Hamas abolished all elections. Now, I want the people of Gaza to vote. Do you want to remain in that tiny hovel where you don't have a backyard, where any money that's given to Hamas, if it's rebuilt, will be, again, it'll go to tunnels? Remember that the Hamas got triple the Marshall aid per capita for Palestinian, and they didn't build one bomb shelter, they didn't build one school, they didn't build one university, they just built tunnels and rockets. Ask the people. So Pierce, let me ask you, why did you ask?
May I say to the rabbi, forgive me for persisting here.
Decide where they want to live.
But the rabbi did say, I think legitimately, that he had been interrupted and he didn't like it. I was halfway through the point that I was making, if I may say so, when you jumped in. I said that I thought Truman was justified in ending the Pacific War. I think Churchill was justified in trying to end the war in Europe. What I don't understand, and I think a lot of people who are instinctively pro-Israel do not understand, are where are the sunlit uplands on the other side of the evisceration of Gaza? I've been told by senior Israeli officials, confidentially, that young Gazans, Palestinians and people across the Middle East are being radicalised, that these dead Hamas fighters are being replaced at a rate of 5 to 1. This isn't going to affect Israel for the next 5 months or 5 years, but for the next 50 years. And how on earth is flattening Gaza going to help the protection of Israel when their funders are in Tehran?
No, I agree.
The image, and let me just make one final point. In the medium term, I say to the rabbi, and I say this with great sincerity, the image of Israel, I don't want to superficialise it, but the brand of Israel, that liberal democracy in a tough neighbourhood which sits unconsciously behind Western support and has done since the Second World War, has been obliterated, shattered into a million pieces. The next generation of American leaders are going to grow up where the most salient image in their minds is not going to be the Holocaust, as it is for our generation. It's going to be emaciated Gazan children dying in their thousands, being starved via a blockade. I say to you, I understand why Israelis and Jews rallied around Netanyahu after October the 7th. Who wouldn't after an atrocity of that kind? But I believe you've been goaded into an overreaction that will reverberate through history of great strategic disadvantage to a country I want to do well.
I see you.
All right, and before I let Rabbi Shmuley respond, before you respond, Rabbi Shmuley, I just wanted to pick you up on the statistics that you regaled at the start of that, which I think you said that the British killed 3 million German civilians, including 300,000 children. Is that what you said?
A 5 to 1 combatant to civilian
just to be
ratio.
clear, you said 3 million, and of which 300,000 were children. That's what you said, right?
Right.
It's
the British decimated Cologne, they decimated Berlin, they decimated Hamburg, they decimated Dresden. In Dresden, they killed 30,000 in one night, etc.
Let me finish my point. You were completely wrong. You were wildly exaggerating the number of civilians killed by the British bombing campaigns, the Allied bombing campaigns. It's estimated between 350 and 500,000 German civilians were killed in total by Allied bombing in World War II. And I would also add this. At the end of
Okay, so I said 700,000.
Let me finish my point. Let me finish my point. So it was a sixth of what you said, in fact. But the wider point is we brought in the Geneva Convention at the end of World War II specifically to address the issues of mass civilian casualties in World War II. The UK signed up to that. Most countries of the world signed up to Geneva. Israel is a signatory to the Geneva Convention, and yet it breaches regularly the Geneva Convention, including, many believe, what they're now doing as a government in Gaza.
I don't know how you could possibly say, by the way, I don't have the advantage of having researchers behind me or having a laptop. So can you ask your researchers how many German children did Churchill kill? That's what I want to know exactly.
Well, no, I've given you your chance to spew statistics. You were completely wrong.
How many children?
You were completely wrong.
German children who were totally innocent? No, 1 second. You said that Churchill killed 700,000. And now you said that Israel killed 40 or 50,000. Doesn't that make Churchill a much bigger war criminal than Netanyahu? Yes or no, Pierce?
No, he's not a war criminal. Churchill is not a war criminal.
Why? He killed 700,000 civilians. Why?
Why aren't you answering my point?
You won't answer my point. If Netanyahu is a war criminal for killing 45,000 Palestinians, why is Churchill, whose statue sits outside Parliament, not a criminal for killing 8 times that amount of people? Go ahead, please.
Cenk.
And by the way, let me just tell you, Piers, you can't say the technology didn't exist because the Americans used the Norden bomb site and only did precision daytime bombing. Mr. Saeed will know that. It was Churchill who said, I will not risk a single RAF pilot. I don't care how many Germans die. I will only do indiscriminate broad nighttime bombing. Churchill was out to decimate cities,
allow
to break
somebody
the
else to
will
speak,
of the German
please.
people. So why is he not a war criminal? You won't answer me, Piers. You won't answer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, well, I'm trying to answer, but all you'll do is propagandize for a bunch of terrorists. So, first of all, Piers is absolutely right. We passed those Geneva Convention laws so that we could prevent crimes against humanity, not just what the Germans did to the Jews, the Poles, the Roma, etc., but also what the Allies did in indiscriminate carpet bombing of civilian populations. So we tried to learn from the Holocaust. We tried to learn from World War II, and we all said never again. These laws should not be broken because it leads to terrible situations. Israel then said, no, we're above the law. We get to break any law we like.